Hello, hello. Hello, Startup Grind. Here we are, Startup Grind and Freshworks, doing a fireside chat together. We're going to be waiting a couple of seconds for more attendees to join. My name is Sergio, and I'm Chapter Director for Startup Grind Oslo, Norway. I'm so glad that we are talking not just to Oslo people this time, but we're going virtual, we're going global. So Startup Grind is a global concept, and we've been suffering in a way when you have COVID that you cannot do a physical event anymore. Now, for the first time, we can actually have the limitation of doing Startup Grind virtual events where we can basically bring a speaker from all across the world, someone really amazing who would have spent a lot of time to get to Oslo. Now we can just bring him via virtual tools. The event today is done in partnership with a company called Freshworks. And some of you might have heard of Freshworks, some of you might have not. I was amazed by the speed of growth in this company, and I was really excited to bring them on board and have them tell their story. And I was even more excited when I heard that they have an amazing program to help startups. So they're not just about grow and forget about the rest of the world. They actually have a very interesting program to help the startups. So I'm gonna give the word to Sumitra, who represents Freshworks here, just to say a few words about how you guys can help startups grow.
Right. Fantastic. Thank you, Sergio. And excited to be part of this. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining in for this session. I'm Saumitra. I lead the Freshworks for Startups initiative. I take care of the startup program overall across the globe and especially for the Europe region. I've been with Freshworks for more than 3 years now, and I have built multiple other GTM engines and partnership programs, if you like. And yeah, something latest and something recent that I'm taking care of is Freshworks for Startups, and I've been involved with the ecosystem for more than 8 years now in different capacity and in different ways. I would want to set in the context why we are doing this and kind of give you like a high level introduction about Freshworks as well, and then hand it over to our panelists today, Irshad and Sergio, to take them through the session. So very quickly, guys, Freshworks is a B2B SaaS product company born in India but global since day one. We overall have 13 offices across the world. We are headquartered in San Mateo, California, and our European headquarters is in Berlin, with other offices including London, Paris, Amsterdam, and so on and so forth, right? So back in the days in 2010 when we started, we were a 6-member team, and now when we look at the road we have kind of rode on, we are now almost like a 3,000 member company, and we have got so much help and so much support from the ecosystem while we were growing, right? So this was the whole basis and kind of the core on which Freshworks for Startups program is built on. We as a company, we are out there and we want to kind of give back to the community in terms of our support and our services in different ways, how we want to work with the ecosystem. So Freshworks for Startups is basically our initiative to pay it forward. We broadly cover 3 things as part of the program. Number 1 is access to products. So I'm happy to announce that everyone who's kind of attending this event, we are opening up the topmost bundle of Freshworks Startup program, that is $10,000 free credits across all of the Freshworks products to you. Irshad would cover more on that later on. Second is through the Freshworks Startup program, we open up the engagement piece to you, wherein you can get access to all the resources, webinars, workshop, more events like these, and even the Freshworks internal and external mentor network. And third and most important piece of the startup program is access to ecosystem. We have acquired 15 companies so far, and we have been funded by 4 top investors. That includes Axel, Sequoia, Tiger Global, and Google Capital. We have raised 400 million in terms of our funding so far, and we already work with 200,000 plus customers, right? So as part of access to ecosystem, we want to slowly open up these kind of things for startups and create multiple avenues where they can work with us, right? So yeah, that's about it, guys. This is a quick introduction about Freshworks, myself, and the startup program. I'll hand it over to Sergio and Irshad to take it ahead. And please keep flowing the questions or anything that you might have. You can put it on the chat and we can take it. Yeah.
Thank you, Sumitra. I'm so excited to see a lot of comments, and people are starting to discuss and comment. That's amazing. So keep up that engagement. We are reading what you're writing. We also have the Q&A section where you can submit questions. So we'll take them one by one. While we can do it while we're talking, or at the end. So go ahead and submit questions in the Q&A. All right. So. Now comes the part which I hate. I have to do it virtually because we have something at Startup Grind called the Rockstar Welcome, where you would be having all the people applauding and saying and imagine that you are the rock star coming on stage. We cannot really do that here, but I'm very happy to welcome you, Irshad. So Irshad Mohammed, you are the inside sales manager for SMB Europe. So welcome to Startup Grind. Tell us how you feel about it.
Thanks a lot, Sergio. I think I'm really excited to be part of this. Thank you, Sergio, as well as Startup Grind to organizing this amazing event. It is really excited to be part of this and to be in front of all the startup founders here and also with the people who are working with startups. I'd say it really takes a courage to start a startup actually, right? So it's not easy for people to start a startup, and also it is really courageous to be part of a startup company. I personally have been through this journey. I know what it takes to be starting a startup and part of an early stage startup company. I'm more excited to be part of this and to learn something from all of you here. And also I can share something what I learned through my journey from last more than 7 years with Freshworks. I'm really excited to be here.
Tell us a bit about you as a person. Like, what are your main experiences, the companies you've been with, the successes and the fuck ups that you had?
That's great. So I don't want to get a lot of business side of it. Probably I can do a little different here. So I just want to thank a couple of people today, which is nothing but my kids, who is making this work from home is very exciting for me. My daughter and my son. If you know, you all know that we embrace the situation where we need to work from home, right? So I think this is giving me a lot of opportunity for me to be with my kids more, and also they're making me more excited every minute what I spend at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I just want to thank them in this moment. Apart from that, personally, me, I'm more like a person who really enjoy cooking. It's just like an Indianized dish where I spend most of the time in work from home cooking things. And apart from that,
that's very useful today.
Then the other thing is I'm sort of a painter. So I paint things, which is I'm not an like expert painter sort of thing. Probably right now I'm a beginner when it comes to doing something painting aspect of it, which I spend most of the time with my kids in painting things. So these are some of the things which you would know more than me apart from my business, so that you're not talking to a stranger. When it comes to let me give a little brief about my yearly journey when it comes to Freshworks, right? All the startup people are getting excited about what the larger company who are doing millions of dollars in revenue might have done in the early stages of their company. When you talk about mostly the term called 0 to 1, right? So people are getting excited about, hey, what this company might have done when they are like very small, not even made any penny, right? So probably I can share a journey of Freshworks before we hit our first $1 million, so that you can relate what are the different things we have done as a company, what are the different things we learned in a harder way, and also we acquired the knowledge during our journey from 0 to 1, right? To start with, I think most of you know that Freshworks founded in the year of 2010 October, right? So it took us 8 months to launch our product from the day of inspection of the company. Then we took 8 months to launch our product. We launched our product in the year of 2011, right? In the same month, we got our first customer, which is we are a company who started in India and having headquarters in USA, but the first customer what we got is from Australia, right? So nothing but a college which we got as the first customer from Australia, right? Even today they are our customers.
How did you get
And
them? Did you pursue them, or did they come to you?
they come to us, right? They came to us after they saw that, hey, there is some company who are coming up in a customer support phase. Let's go and try them, right? So that's the first customer from the moment we launched our product in the year of 2011, right? From 2011 till mid of I would say 2012, we not even had a single salesperson, almost 1 year, right? It's all about reactive support. All the founders in the company, it's a small team of 5-member team, mostly like CEO, CFO, not CFO, CTO, and some of the developers who have been putting their brains in developing the product. Only those people are reactively supporting the incoming requests from the prospects, right? So if you imagine that from almost 1 year from the day of launching the product, we never had any salesperson, right? In the mid of 2012, we hired our first salesperson. I would say till the end of 2012, we had only 3 salespeople. So that's the initial stage of how we'll build our sales team, right? And I realized that for the first till we hit our first million, only 3 salespeople used to take care of the entire Freshworks sales.
All right. So
How this sounds like, right?
that's
Yeah.
very interesting. Were you one of those 3 salespeople?
Yes. So all the 3 salespeople is based out of India. Again, we started our entire sales operation from remote sales. That is our bread and butter, right? So we started from India, and the first salesperson used to take care of the entire North American market, and then we had another salesperson, which is me. So I used to take care of the entire European market and LATAM. I start working from 11 a.m. IST till 11 p.m. In the night. So I used to cover all the European market, as well as I used to cover all the Latin American market. Then we had one of my friends still with Freshworks, and he's the person who covers the rest of the globe. So only 3 people who used to take care of the entire globe when it comes to Freshworks sales. We did almost this when it comes to focusing 3 people in entire globe taking care of all the Freshworks way of doing it, right? So this is one of the important thing I want to share here, right? When we started our company, we not focused about scaling stuff like that. We always particular about using the limited resources, how we need to make sure that we do what we do perfectly, right? So this is what I want to touch about, what we have done before we hit our first million, right? Most of the companies in a startup scenario, they'll hire left, right, here and there and say that, hey, you know what, we need to build a team, have everyone in the place to make sure that we scale stuff like that. But during our initial phase, before we hit our first million, these are the 3 people we used to take care of the entire GTM aspect of Freshworks, right? Starting from pre-sales, then sales, then post-sales, customer support, all the breadth of the job we used to take care of it. Everything from the salespeople who used to take care of talking to the prospect till the support and post-support stuff, everything, right? So this is when these 3 people used to handle all the sales process, pre-sales and post-sale process for Freshworks. And finally, what we did is we used to celebrate all the small deals, bigger deals. I remember that my first biggest deal is $400, right? So the moment I hit my $400, my CEO ran to me and said that, you know what, you hit the biggest customer of yours, which is $400. Still, I remember that Freshworks as a company, the biggest customer, I think before our first million was $1,000 MRR, right? Which is like recurring revenue of $1,000 is huge for us. It was like everyone is like clapping and celebrating, saying that, you know what, we got the biggest customer who are paying us $1,000, right? It's huge. And the moment arrived, I think in the month of January 2013, we hit our first million, right? It almost took 1 year. I mean, 3 years from the day of launch of the product to hit our first million. That is where we hit our first million in the year of 2013 January. That is where I think as a Freshworks we hit our first million. So that journey, I would say, almost like 3 years, which is like restless, and we have done so much. We have learned so much, which is
This is an amazing story,
something we already
and
have.
I'm thinking now all the startups that are listening and are having the founder, the co-founders, the CTO, and the CEO, and a few people, and they are thinking about setting up a sales team. Let's say you'd be the CSO, the salesperson. How would you go about setting up a sales team? Like, what would be, because I'm sure you made some mistakes in the process
Yes.
in the beginning. Forget about 2011. With all your knowledge, all the experience, if you would be selling and building a sales team today, what would you do? What would be your 1, 2, 3 the steps?
Okay. So even if you talk about any startup company, right, I think most of the founder agree with me. When you started thinking about building a team, it is not an absolute number, right? So for instance, if you have 10-member team, it's not increasing from 10-member to 50-member team. I think we need to go 2 steps back and figure it out. What is that really building a team, right? You need to understand that building a team is not about increase the absolute number. Building a team is about what is and who are the people who is going to take up that particular responsibility and scale the organization. That is very important, first thing, right? So when you are hiring, the first thing is, I would say the first 150 to 200 employees of Freshworks, everyone is hired from contacts. For instance, I joined as a third salesperson, and CEO called me and say that, hey, since we are building this team, I need some right people, reliable people who can believe in what we do, who believing in this company. In those, I think the first step to building a team is to hire from your contacts who are really passionate about what you do, and already who is believing in you in what you're doing. That's the first step what we did. And when you talk about scaling the team, there are multiple components to it, and we learned it during the journey of Freshworks, right? So what is building a team? So end of the day, when you talk about building the team, when it comes to a sales aspect of looking at thing is, when you are starting building team, there are muscles you need to add around the sales team. For instance, right, when I was talking about, we had almost 3 sales people for almost like 6 months, right? So when we want to expand our market, the first thing what we looked at, do we need to increase this 3 to 10 sales people, or do we need to do something differently? Then we realized that when you go deeper towards the organizational goal from 1 million to 15 million to 100 million to whatever it is, what is that the individual needs to take as a responsibility, something the organization need to think through it. It's not about building the sales team. Before that, okay, if I were to go about more deeper in what I'm doing, then a single person cannot do 10 different jobs. As a salesperson, when we were small, I need to used to take care of pre-sales, support, customer success. But when we want to grow bigger, as a salesman, I need to do more sales, right? So that means that you need to start building the muscles for a sales team. For instance, who's the person who's going to do the technical closure for a sales team? That's when we started realizing that, you know what, now we need to start building my pre-sales team, right? Who is going to work with a salesperson, and end of the day, he's going to support the salesperson in more closure, right? Then when we had a strong pre-sales team, then we started realizing that, hey, you know what, now we have a strong pre-sales team. Now I need to start thinking about what happens when I acquire a customer. Being a multi-product company, we are not only selling one product, we are selling multiple products to customer. Then we realize that we need to have people to take care of customer post sales to make sure that there isn't much adoption to the product. So then we started thinking about building a customer success team who is helping people to make sure that they utilize the product to the most, so that the customers will be sticking us for a longer time. So as you rightly asked, how about going to building the team is more like creating the muscle around sales team is the first thing. At the end of the day, most of the startup face this another difficulty, hiring the right people, right? So most of the people won't believe in what you are doing, or they don't know who you are, and it is very difficult for you to hire some smart people. The other thing what we learned is, instead of going behind very experienced people, we hired some of the best leader in the market. Then we started hiring the freshers out of college. So that's one of the thing what we learned, which helped us build our team very strongly. So we went out to colleges, we started hiring some of the smart people who are very freshers, and we put under some of the seasoned leaders so that they engage with them, they train them and build the team. You won't believe me, the people who hired 5 years back as a freshers, today they are some of the best leaders inside Freshworks. No one might have believed that, saying that, hey, this fresher out of the college 5 years down the line become one of the strong pillar of Freshworks. And they know that how we have grown, how we build a team, they're part of like multi-million dollar company. And that's something we learned in a harder way, but we learned a little quicker. One thing I would say that, start thinking about not only experienced people when you start building a team, also start thinking about how we can hire the passionate people during your initial stage of your organization, and how we can build them on top of your strong leaders. That will really help you to scale your team faster.
Great. This was some very useful tips for how to build a sales team. One of the reasons we are particularly finding this your company and yourself relevant today is because a lot of different companies are basically stuck today having to only do everything remotely. You guys have been doing everything remotely from the day one, pretty much.
Yeah.
So this has been your bread and butter, as you said. 3 people sitting in an office selling to the whole world. Tell us a bit about. Are you doing anything different now? Is your sales team restructuring in any ways, or are you just doing the same and more? How is COVID affecting your business?
So there are multiple phases to it, right? When you talk about a remote sales team, I think remote sales is right now the crisis is more than remote. We're working from home, right? So it's remote right now. Right? When you talk about remote sales team, see one thing what we did differently. I think it is one of the successful model of Freshworks. From the day one, we believed in remote sales team, right? We knew that. Uh, End of the day, we started as an SMB centric team, and we have been focusing our product more on enabling the SMB teams. And we know that to start and speak to an SMB team, it's not necessary that always you have to be like face to face, right? So when you go on the sell like $100 or $200, I don't think people expect you to be face to face when you're selling a small budgeted product, right? That is what we believing in, that hey, when you have a small product or when you have small MRR product, when you're selling outside, we thought that it is not necessary for us to be like face to face. That's a first idea behind how we started thinking about setting up the team based out of India, because we are SMB focused initially. Then we thought that okay, let's have the team built from India. That's the first idea behind why we want to set a remote sales team, right? And also we see that more people are open to have conversation through Zoom or a different level of interactions, web-based interactions. Then we believe that this is also working out. That's the reason we started thinking about setting up a remote sales itself, right? And then we realized that it is working out for us, right? When you started speaking to a startup companies, right? So first of all, you speak to SMB companies or a startup companies. Most of the time, most of the startup people agree with me here. They are very feature hungry, right? They want to fix the immediate problem. They're saying that, hey, you know what? I need to speak to 10 different people. Do you have any solution for that? So that's the moment of truth, right? Are you selling face to face? Are you selling remotely? That doesn't matter for them. For them, what is important is this company is going to solve my problem or not. Are they going to come to me, or they're going to sell from web? That doesn't matter. So that is where we realize that it's all boils down to who you're selling to and what is that you're solving. That is where we started building the team here. Then when we matured as a company, we also realized that, you know what, not only a smaller company are comfortable with remote selling, or the larger company also comfortable with remote selling, right? So when we start, I mean, I still remember that I think some 5-6 years back when I spoke to one of The biggest company which I closed, which is I'm open to share the name, which is like 3M, which is based out of London. And I was having a conversation with them saying that, you know what, I'm calling from so and so India, so this is a startup, and you know what, we're trying to sell one solution for you. They're very excited because they never seen someone calling a bigger company from remotely trying to sell something, right? Then they're really excited. Fortunately, that time my CEO was there in London, and I asked him saying that, hey, why can't you meet him? They went and met him, and they also explained that the idea behind why we are having the team in India, why we are having all the sales people based off remotely. So they got very excited, and so that's all started when it comes to remote sales aspect of it, and we learned how we need to sell from remotely. Some of the things still we face a couple of difficulties, but end of the day, I think more people are open about uh, doing a sales from remotely. Even people are receptive about people calling from remotely and making the sale.
But I'm going to stop you here because this is all amazing. But I'm going to be completely honest with you, and I understand that when the customer wants a good product, and that's a very fair point. But on the initial interaction with the customer, they will judge by, are you local? Do I know anybody who knows you? Do I know anybody who used your product? All these kind of things. So again, referring to, you're in the very beginning of being a startup. Not very many people know you. You're calling somebody, almost cold calling. That's a huge challenge. I think this is where a lot of startups are struggling, and they're not even daring to do that phone call because it just feels like it's going to be a shady call. So let's leave. Maybe you guys were lucky. I don't know, but let's be honest. Like, how do you deal with that discomfort in the very beginning of how do I sell my product that nobody knows? Why should somebody use my product that's small and nobody knows compared to the big known brand names?
Okay. So let me put the remote sale into two perspective, right? So remote sale is one thing, you go outbound. Outbound is nothing but you call customers, introduce yourself, saying that, hey, I'm from so and so company. They're not even aware about what you're speaking about. This is one side of making a cold call and making a sale, which is hard part of a sale, right? The other side of the remote sale is people coming to you, right? So people coming to you, searching for something, coming directly to your website and say that, hey, I want to look at this product. Because there are two different companies. One, there are a lot of companies already exist, like saying that, hey, customer support, which is there in the market, and people might be searching for customer support. They end up landing Freshworks, which is like a new startup company. They might be thinking that, hey, let me give a try to this company, where you are pulling the customer towards you, and you have the remote salesperson to take care of that customer. This is one side of remote selling. The other side of the remote selling is you are making a call to a customer and saying that, hey, I'm so and so company, and I'm calling from India, and you know what, I'm also selling customer support product. Will you be interested to look at it? So that is the hardest part of selling, right? So when you introduce, and most of the time I face myself saying that they bang the phone, saying that, hey, you know what, this is not relevant. But end of the day, in any sales cycle, there is a conversation to a pipeline building, then opportunity, then a closure, right? So how this is different, it is the same for anyone who is going face to face, and it is same for anyone who is making a call. But making a call is little tricky because they not even seen you who you are, they not even know who they are speaking to. So I understand that. That's the reason I'm saying that when you talk about remote sales perspective, then you're going with some sort of solution to your targeted audience, right? So you're not something you're selling which is not there. As a product company, I know what I'm selling. The moment when I make a call to a director of customer support, for instance, in my scenario, right? So I'll call, hey, Sergio, you know what? I'm speaking from so and so company and I'm selling a customer support product. Will you be interested? Most of the time, you say 70% of the people say that I already have a product, and you see 30% of the people saying that, oh, is it? Let's have some conversation. And that conversation is also not easy when you're new to the remote sales, because you don't know what is the body language of the customer. You might be end up spending with a wrong prospect for longer time. These are some of the difficulties you face, but still, as an organization, we know that what is that we are betting on. Out of 10 conversations, you end up having 3 conversations. That is what I would say pipeline building. right? When you started building the funnel, the end of the day, even the remote salesperson, little bit, when it comes to a percentage perspective, it will be like a little lesser than a face-to-face person. But end of the day, as a remote salesperson, we follow some of their techniques, which we regularly build a pipeline aspect of it, speak to people, and try to build a pipeline on top of it. Then we'll also see the closure. So it's more like inbound perspective. We as a company is more driven in an inbound perspective, that we've seen more success in that, where people come to us. In an outbound perspective, where they not even know about your product, where you go and introduce your product, then you pitch your solution, and then you take the conversation further as a pipeline and towards the closure. That's what we do.
We just got a very spot-on question as a follow-up to what you're talking about. What are some of the initial methods that really worked in building a funnel? Because funnels is good when you have it, but like very, very concretely, what do you do to build a funnel?
Okay. Yeah. See, I'll put across a fight about Freshworks as a company, right? Let me ask this question. So any startup company who start, there'll be like two things. One, the product which is already exists in the market, which is something you are coming up on top of it. For instance, right? Let's take, if the products already exist, you're launching the product competition to your product X. So that means they already a solution which is exists in the market, and also you're coming up with a similar solution. That means people already aware about this sort of solution. And there is another set of product where you're new to the product, you're new to the market, you're going to disrupt the market itself. No one aware about some solution like this, right? There are two set of product and solutions which you go to the market, right? Which is very, very new, no one has done something like this earlier. The another product which is already exists, you're doing some differentiator on top of the product and you're launching the product. These are the two set of initial product launching, right? So there is a different approach for these two products. When you have already exists product where you can able to pull the people by itself, where you're doing the marketing campaigns and you're positioning yourself in front of your competition, saying that, you know what, I know Salesforce, but I'm better than Salesforce. I'm just giving some example. I know this company, I'm better than this company by X, Y, Z. And when people are searching for this, and that's the moment you usually call as a pull strategy, where you are pulling your people towards your product, telling them, saying that I am better than this product, because this product you're positioning yourself in front of your competition. The other side of the product, what is something which is new to the market, no one is aware about this sort of solution, you are new to the market, and this is when you need to go and push your product, and you need to speak to the right industry experts, and you need to speak to some of the people who are already part of this particular ecosystem. And that is when you need to have conversation with them, saying that, you know what, this is the new product I'm launching in this company, and will you be able to assist me in partnering with you or something like that. And end of the day, going and showcasing your product in some of the forums which is relevant to you. For instance, if you're launching a product which is like a construction based solution, right, then you can go and speak to all the people who are related to construction companies, right? Probably you can go and showcase them, saying that this is some of out of the box solution which is going to do XYZ for this pain point, and I would like to give a shot for it. This is where you talk about pipeline building. One, you pull people, or you go and push the prospect, saying that, hey, this is something which is on top of the existing thing, or this is something new where I need to build a pipeline. Do you have time to listen to it, or do you want to try it? So when you started doing this initially, I know that people will shut you down, but end of the day, you need to show numbers. It's also boils down to who you speak to. Are you speaking to a CEO of the company, or you're going to speak to CFO of a company, or you're going to solve a support person? And depends upon that, you need to position your product and go and speak to the right segment, right people, so that you can grab the interest of the person by numbers, by solving a problem, or by any other means which is going to interest that particular person. So when you do that, then that is when you build your initial pipeline, and it's go on. The moment when you have your first customer, then you are done, right? Then you can speak to their competition of their customer. Then you can go to their competition. It's all about cracking that first customer. When you hit the first customer, then you can speak to the relevant customer around them, and they're going to be your advocates.
I think I'm gonna have a surprise for you, and I'll bring one of the customers that you have in Norway. So we have here, I'll just promote the panelist, Alexander, who's from a small company based here, not far from Oslo, that is using Freshworks. So let me see, Alexander, are you connected?
Yeah, I think so. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect.
So you know, you're based here 20 minutes from Oslo. You've been using Freshworks for a while, right? For some years.
Yeah, 1.5 years now.
Can you turn on the camera so I can see you?
I can see, and you'll all see my messy home office. But
we're all friends. We're all friends.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah. Hi. Tell us, you know, I'm really curious, like all the things that Irshad now talked about, how do they relate to you? So perhaps first tell us a bit about what you do and what your company does, and how did you end up using this product?
The company name is Kulturite, which translates to cultural IT in English. So we're part operations, part development company. We develop software for the cultural sector in Norway and Sweden. So basically software which are used by museums.
All right.
In addition to this, we are also managing all the IT infrastructure and users for the museums. So we function as their internal IT department. So we're about 50 employees, managing everything from firewalls to workstation, laptops, Kubernetes, cluster, cloud infrastructure. Yeah, take care of most of them. Yeah.
Got it. And how did you discover Freshworks? How did the funnel reach you?
So, well, actually, we reached out to them in this case. We were researching new software for support or for managing customer support tickets. And we looked at, I would say, between 6 and 8 different softwares and ended up with Fresh service from Freshworks and also Fresh Caller, which is their telephone solution.
I guess the product people are very happy right now in listening to this. Yeah.
So,
go ahead, tell us a bit about, you know, first days. You're using a product that you only Googled about. Your first experiences. I guess people are curious to hear more about that.
Yeah. So our whole company is using these products because it's all our customer communication goes through our support and ticketing system. So we needed a system that was easy to use for most of the, let's say, normal users, and advanced enough for the power users. So I would say that what really kicked us off was the options and possibilities to automate things inside the Fresh service product. Make it easier to help our customers and help them fast.
Understood. No, this is great, Irshad. I feel exactly what you told us until now is being validated by Alexander. So you didn't have to call him. He just found you by doing their own research and ended up choosing the product based on its specifications.
Yeah, and also in addition to Googling, we also had a long and not a long process, but a process over a few weeks with the sales teams and pre-sales teams of Freshworks, helping us set up, answering all our questions, so helping us get started, and that was valuable.
Alex, before we get back to Irshad and move to the Q&A, tell us a bit about how you're dealing with the current situation. Do you have more customers, less customer, more work?
Well, so the number of customers are still the same, but the work is a lot more. The first 3 or 4 days after the lockdown in Norway, the week after lockdown started, we had an increase in 400% support tickets. So yeah, we had a lot of things to do. Most of the users were normally working from their offices, and now everybody needed to start working from home. So we had to help a lot of them get up and running. So yeah, we had an increase in 400% for the first few days, but we're able to to manage again using a lot of automation, because we were able to pick out the tickets coming in and categorizing them correctly, and also actually answering a lot of them automatically, because we were able to pick out what they were about and send an answer. So well, in this case, the system really helped us.
All right.
We were also,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, Alex. I think Irshad, were you surprised at all to have a customer here?
Yeah, it's great to have you, Alex.
Yeah. All right. We've got about 20 minutes, and we've received a lot of questions, both in the Q&A and in the chat. So some of them are really interesting. So I'm just going to start listing a few of them. So there was a question from Thomas asking about partnerships and how do you build on partnerships, and how do you select the right partners? Tell us more about that. What do you think? I mean, Startup Grind is a partner of Freshworks for startups, but on the classical sales business, how do you choose your partners?
When you talk about partners, I would say that partners very important lever when you're growing a company, right? So partners are different ways. One, you're partnering with some of them who are willing to sell your product, right? For instance, if we are a multiple product company, you want to partner with us and be a face to the organization locally, right? So there are a lot of things where we keep in mind when you especially talk about the European market, where we have constraints when it comes to dealing with some of very non-English speaking regions, where they are very particular about dealing with people locally, right? So that's when we started building our ecosystem, relying on some of the people who we believe that who is going to be like a face of our Freshworks, because end of the day, partner is not someone who is out of Freshworks. They are extended arm to Freshworks, right? So they'll be like carrying the same energy. They'll be carrying the same passion how Freshworks employee carries. So we believe that we need to resonate the same passion and the passion from when it comes to selecting a partner. So we particular about that, and we see that if there is any opportunity where if the people willing and sell our product and also willing to be part of our Freshworks ecosystem, we always welcome anyone who want to be that way. So we select those people, and also we have sort of a evaluation process which is handled by our partners team, and they'll see that who is that person, what they do, what are their portfolios, they differently do go ahead with Freshworks aspect of it, and we evaluate some of the basic criteria. Then we'll onboard them as a partner. And then they have a option to sell the Freshworks product. This is one way of looking at it. The other way of partnering is like how we did with you, right? So who are like-minded people who want to give something back to the ecosystem, right? Where we need to engage with you to see that how we can open up the possibilities of all the startup companies and see that what we can give as a company, because we know that what it takes to be like a startup company. So we build a partnership with someone like you and people who think about what the startup needs to do in the initial stages. So we help them with respect to what the products we have by giving away credits and making sure that we come up with a lot of mentorship programs where we can educate them, which we learned in a harder way. Some of the things which comes to you by the experience, probably we share what we learned during our journey from zero to whatever we are doing today. And we are partnering with some of the like-minded people and giving away some of the learnings what we have that is very, very valuable when it comes to running the company with limited funds and going and investing your funds in a right way. These are some of the learnings which we usually do and partner with people and go ahead, right? So this is what the ecosystem is. If you want to understand more about partnership and other things, feel free to write to us. We have some of one reach out to you and explain more about that.
So Mitra, do you want to add anything on the partnership, since you are the guru of partnership in Freshworks? Actually,
Sure.
just a side note. I met Sumitra in San Francisco at the Startup Grind Global, and this is how we started talking to Freshworks. So in back in the days when people used to travel, it was we met, and we got to know Freshworks, and now we're having this event virtually. Go ahead, Sumitra.
Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, whatever Irshad just mentioned, I'm just gonna kind of build up on top of it and give you like a quick sense on what it means as partnerships for Freshworks, and in general as a startup founder, how you should look at it. So I think it all boils down to the type of partnership, or how you should be looking at what is the goal of the partnership program, right? So when it comes to Freshworks, or even the other startups and other companies that I have worked with, partnership needs to break down between two sectors. One, is it like a business partnership, or second, is it like a technology partnership, right? When it comes to business partnership, it's more around, it could be a channel partner or someone like a reseller who is playing in the same area, same space. Like let's say you are a B2B SaaS product company, then you need to be working with people who are into software development, those who are doing work around in this area, right? So they can share the same philosophy, they can align with your products if their margins also align with you, and they can resell and kind of make money out of that program with you. Then there are other aspects when it comes to sales partnership or business partnerships, that I would say. It could be a referral partner program, it could be through like a distribution network, it could be through affiliate network, or things like that, right? So depending on how much high touch or low touch a particular partner wants to be with you, and whether their margins and their product prices align with your product prices, you can take a sales partnership route. The second aspect about in general partnership comes to the technology front. When let's say you are a sales company or you are a sales automation engine, right? You're a founder and you found out like a really cool nice AI algorithm that might help a sales rep, that I know when this deal is going to close, and I know the probability of what this customer is going to look like eventually in next few weeks and all. Then you need to be partnering with similar players in your ecosystem. You need to be partnering with CRM players, you need to be partnering with other chatbot systems, other AI platforms and stuff like that. So technology partnership gives you an edge where you can co-sell, co-market, or even go to the market along with your partner company, right? You probably need to build an integration with them, or you need to have a joint offering where you can attack their ecosystem and they can work with your ecosystem. So it's a win-win strategy ultimately. When it comes to sales partnership, your partner or your channel partner should also have some benefit, a tangible growth that he can see over the weeks, and you should have a plan around that. And when it comes to technology partnership, there are mixed aspects around direct goals when it comes to, let's say, the monetary benefit that is coming through this partnership, or it could be in terms of the visibility that you would get in each other's ecosystem, right? And the third aspect, which I think that we have partnership in place, is more around when you're working on the same goal. When in this case, it's all about how can we help founders grow, or how can we help them when they are early on in their journey. You work with like-minded people, you identify similar targets, and you kind of come up with those offerings where they would want to work with you. So yeah, this is, I mean, we can have like a separate session or something around partnerships and stuff, but I think it's very important, especially now when it comes to remote sales. You need to align with right kind of people when it comes to partnerships.
I think it's a good point. I mean, partnerships are important. We can almost have a separate fireside chat just covering that. We have a lot of questions. We don't have time to go through all of them. So I'll just take as much as I can. I'll ask you to be a bit more to the point, so we get to answer as many as possible. We got a question from Johnny in Glasgow. You mentioned putting yourself above your competitors by mentioning them first. So do you consider starting with your competition and then adding improvements an effective way of differentiation, thinking about innovation? I don't know if it was clear, but basically I highlighted the question. I think he's asking if you start with what your competition has and then you build on top of that add-ons, or do you think completely differently? I think it's less of sales and more of building the product.
See, at the end of the day, as I mentioned earlier, right, it is not necessary that you will be launching a product similar to your competition. What it says, what I meant is, you have something which is already exists in the market, and you are launching the similar product. It might be like very different from what is the competition is, but you're addressing the same problem, or you're addressing the same problem more effectively, right? That is where I'm talking about similar to your competition. And people, when searching for your competition, when you are popping up saying that, hey, I'm alternative to my competition, but in a better way.
Mm-hmm.
This is one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at is, there is no one like me. I am the first person who is going to launch this product. So that means you need to have more education, right? Because no one aware about what you're solving for, or people aware about what you're already solving for, or people not even aware about what you're solving for. So this is the two different way of looking at it. And the first way is more like you can pull people towards you, saying that, hey, I know what you're doing, and I'll come to you. If I feel that it's good, I'll buy from you. Like how Alex told in his conversation, saying that I searched for something and I landed Freshworks, and I went and spoke to them. I felt that this is a super fit for me. I bought it. This is one way of doing it. It doesn't mean that our product is similar to our competition, right? It means that people are attracted towards what we have. Then end of the day, if they feel that we are good product, they'll buy from us. The other way is, you have to educate, and you have to push, and you have to make a sale.
Got it. Another question from Rinson. Did you target potential clients from specific countries during your initial outbound selling period?
Mhm.
If so, why?
See, I won't say we'll be targeting very specific countries, right? So we have a go to market plan for each and every country. For instance, if you talk about Europe, and each and every country works differently, right? You can't go with the same specific business model to all the countries in Europe. So that's the reason when you plan itself, probably we'll see that, hey, if you were to go to Germany, what is that I need to do as a company, right? Probably initially what we felt a little difficult is, initially we never had a data center which is based out of Europe. And when I started selling to European countries on top of more GDPR, the moment we got GDPR, we already had an European data centers. I think 4 or 5 years back itself, we got European data centers. But initially, when I started selling to European country, one thing as a company, we realized that people start asking about, hey, do you have your data centers in Europe? We not even thought about that time, right? Always what we think is, people come sign up in US, we are hosting our data in US data centers, bang, in the sale. But when we started focusing on more particularly on the European region, then we started realizing that, hey, people started asking about European data centers. So now it's the time for us to have a European data centers, right? So it is very important for you to focus on a country, because you never know that how the country reacts. You never know that what is the thought process about that country or the prospects who are speaking to. So it is very important for us to focus more on country specific. Otherwise, it is very hard to make a sale, because you don't know what the people on the other side.
Thank you. I will take also a question from the chat, because we have a few there. A very interesting one. What the customer expects from you as a salesperson, and basically they sometimes expect to prioritize their needs, even if it's silly and is not in the strategy of the product.
See, end of the day, you have to be like transparent. This is something I think I always tell all the salespeople who are in my team, or whenever I speak to salespeople, you have to be like very transparent with your customers, right? I understand that as a salesperson, I need to make a sale. I'll tell you one thing, a story which I missed to tell you during a 0 to 1 million, right? When we started selling in Freshworks, we never had a dollar target to a salesperson. Do you believe that? So when you say that salesperson is not carrying a dollar target, it's like amazed. When I joined Freshworks, my CEO called me, say that you're not going to have any dollar targets. I was like, why? I will be assessing you only by the number of license what you sell. I'm not worried about how much dollar you make. They wondered that why CEO is saying in a company, we are a very small company, still he's not worried about dollar. Then I realized that for him, the initial phase, he need to win the customer rather than making more money. So he want to only address what is the customer want. Then after that only, after we hit our first million, then we started saying that, oh, we need to align to the business. Then we moved from licensing to a dollar number. So the first thing is you have to be like very transparent with your customer. If you're not transparent with your customer, it is very hard for you to win the customer for life. And after you make a sale, within down the line, whatever your false promise you made, then it will be like coming to the picture saying that, hey, you promised that on some time back, when I'm going to get that feature, then you got it, right? So you'll be in the grinder saying that, hey, I promised something during my sales. Now I'll be in a trouble because the customer is going to churn or downgrade, and product team will be in a trouble because the sales person promised that he's going to give the feature in so and so time. The first thumb rule of any sales, either it's an inbound or outbound, depends upon small or big company. And we want a lot of bigger companies. Again, biggest competition is because we are very transparent to the customer.
Amazing. Question a bit on opposite from Para in Helsinki. How about the non-responsive clients? How much will you push those? How many touch points will you get with them before you give up?
Okay, I'll be very specific here. There is in a remote sales specifically, you have inbound, which is people come to you, and you have outbound where you go to people, right? So in an inbound perspective, we have at least minimum of 5 follow-ups with the prospect, right? If someone is coming to you saying that, hey, I'm looking at some sort of conversation, they expect some instance by signing up your product. The bare minimum touch points what we make is minimum of 5 touch points, depends upon the conversation what we build. If there is no conversation, you end up doing 5 touch points, we will just move on. We'll say that, hey, we lost this. And when you have a conversation with the customer, and go beyond more than 5 touch points and try to understand what the customer wants when it comes to inbound perspective. When you talk about outbound perspective, we have a structured account book model. When I say that, hey, you know what, I'm going behind all, let's take 500 to 1,000 employee companies in e-commerce. So I have a list of 100 companies in Oslo, right? Let me go behind this company, let's take 12 months time. There is no point saying that, hey, I reached out this person 10 times. Even if I reach out this person 100 times, I need to hear something from him because that is my account book. So end of the day, you are going behind someone. That is how outbound works. There is no limitation in number of time you reach out to the customer before you unqualify, until otherwise you spoke to that person and try to find out there is no opportunity.
Okay, I think we're getting close to the end, and I think I have a very good question to. It's a bit open-ended to finalize with. From Ali, who asks, how did Freshworks become so successful in inbound sales using digital? It's pretty much the core of the discussion, and I know we've touched upon it, but if you had to summarize what's the secret sauce formula?
So Freshworks evolved as a company mostly on inbound, right? So I would say, I think we created our outbound engine something 3 years to 3.5 years back. That's when we created our outbound engine. When you go proactively with the customer, right? So as a company, our DNA from the day one is inbound. So we spend $1, make sure that we are introducing our product, familiarizing through AdWords, Google Words, different way of putting ourselves out, saying that, hey, we are the different company, you come to us, reach to us. We've made ourselves familiarized by spending some money, burned investor money, I would say, to make sure that we put in front of the right audience and right segment. That's when we started a lot of inbound as an engine, and we have been very successful. We tried 1,000 different things to make ourselves successful when it comes to inbound model. So we spend money putting AdWords, this thing, that thing. There are 100 different things. End of the day, we figured out, okay, these are the 10 different things which is going to give me more success when I'm burning my money. That's the secret of Freshworks, right? So we did that, and it is came only by a lot of failures, a lot of success. We learned by doing the way how we have been doing from last 10 years, right? So that's when I would say we are very, very inbound successful company, and we have seen a lot of tractions from outbound perspective from last 4.5 years. That's when you see we have global outbound offices across globe. We have, if you see in Europe, in all the continents, we have outbound offices where we have people who are there who are doing remote sales from the outbound offices.
Great. I think this is a very good note. Now that you gave us the success formula of Freshworks, it's a very good way to wrap up. I'll just say thank you to you and the entire Freshworks team for sharing your knowledge with the startups. I think it's very useful, and our community was really looking forward to hear about sales and how to deal with remote sales in these times. We will be sending a feedback form and an email kind of with a link to this video. So feel free to share this with your friends and your relevant connections who would want to hear more about this. In the chat, Sumitra posted their contact emails. So everybody who wants to try the products and get some free credits for Freshworks for startups, go ahead and use this opportunity. This is a great way to use their products. It's there is an entire set of products for different parts of the customer engagement process. All right. Thank you so much, Irshad. This has been a very interesting conversation. Go ahead.
Thank you, Sergio, and just want to tell all the people part of this. We have a startup offer going on for all the people who attended here, and you can grab that offer by signing up. And if you have any specific questions you want to ask me, you can reach out to me through LinkedIn, all the panelists here, so that we are more than happy to answer your questions because we have limited time here.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone.